a pretty stock schedule tonight. There's before I turn it over to Brian Pennington, who's been in Richmond covering legislation, he's queued up to give us an overview tonight. We have a select agenda item for the next voting meeting, which is on February the 12th. And then Frank will give you another presentation dealing with the general plan update with the last bit of information that he has received from the community. Then we have a couple of issues for closed session. I would like to bring to your attention that tonight on the formal docket, there's R12, the Senior Disabled Tax Relief Ordinance. 2 weeks ago, Assistant City Manager Sabrina Joy-Hogg provided a presentation, and we were committed to you to present that tonight. What we'd like to do is pull it for a couple of weeks until the 12th, just to have an opportunity to review some of the language and to do this right the first time, if that's fine with the council.
Well, I'm going to be out of town for about it makes a difference.
You'll be out of town when?
Well,
Let's get some things done on that day.
that's fine with me. I'm in favor of it, so.
Okay.
We're going to withdraw R1. I guess I'm a little concerned about Barclay's absence on the 12th. When is the next night meeting, if we have to do it? I mean, the 12th, but when is the one after, the next one after the 26th? 2 weeks after that. Okay. Are there any issues with it that anybody has that?
With what?
With the change in the tax relief program? I mean,
No.
because is everybody okay with it then, as the way it's configured right now? Are we okay? I just, Barclay's for it. I think there's some of us who are for it. We just don't want to get in the position of losing Barclay. This thing not happening. It means $1 million to us at least. Guys, okay.
Well, what are your issues with it that you delay it?
Well, it's just that there was some drafting, I shouldn't call them issues, just some concerns to make sure that what we're doing is proper as it relates to the draft.
Well, we'll
So
schedule it.
you don't want to do it now and then have to come back and redo it
Right.
again because of some wording.
Yes, we'll continue it to the 12th, and if we have any issues, then, because we also will be able to advertise it then as a public hearing, which is helpful, I think. And if we do, then maybe we'll just push it off 2 weeks after that if we have to. Okay? Okay. All right, go ahead.
Turn it over to you, Mayor.
No, it's, you've got the, Brian, I'm sorry.
Am I on?
Yeah, and you have to be quick, Brian.
Okay,
Don't read all of it.
as usual. Okay, Council, I would like to spend the next 10 to 12 minutes just providing you with a high-level relevant update on each of the city's requests and priorities. I plan to cover a few additional legislative bills of interest towards the end. Nothing's being requested to Council for this briefing. The administration is working diligently to accomplish Norfolk's 2013 legislative agenda. I've left it time at the end to answer any questions Council might have relating to General Assembly activity. First up is our legislative request to seek state flood mitigation coordination assistance. As you know from earlier reporting, VIMS, Virginia Institute of Marine Science, affiliated with William & Mary, released their report on recurrent flooding that Council requested last session. Unfortunately, this report wasn't available in time to really be able to position for legislative activity during this session. However, we have used the time to talk with a number of members to specifically advance some of the high-level conclusions of the VIMS report. Very briefly, in the VIMS report, it stated that the consensus of scientists working on this report is that by 2100, global sea level will be between 8 and 6.6 feet above the level established in 1992. Specific to the state's role, VIMS recommended that they should initiate identification, collection, and analysis of data needed to support effective planning and for response to recurrent clouding issues in Virginia. Available data are in this area unfortunately lacking, and there doesn't seem to be a comprehensive or fine resolution analysis of the flood risk. So the recommendation is that the state should take some type of lead role in addressing these issues. And the specific reasons are that accessing relevant federal resources for planning and mitigation, it really could be enhanced through the state mediation. Flooding problems also, they say, are linked to water bodies, and therefore they transcend local boundaries. And resource prioritization efforts will require consistent and standardized assessment protocols across all the localities and regions. And lastly, localities, especially ours, are telling the state that, and the VEMS scientists working the report, that we really are lacking the capacity and wherewithal to really manage this issue in isolation, working as any one independent city. So moving forward, there wasn't a specific legislative bill that was advanced or a budget amendment advanced. We felt that given the timing and a whole host of a variety of other reasons, that it made sense really to seek a more expanded partnership, not only with the HRPDC, but also with the Governor's Policy Office, the Department of Veterans Affairs and Homeland Security, and several other relevant state agencies, specifically asking them for their guidance on how best to proceed with advancing the VEMS report recommendations. Efforts are ongoing, Council, but progress is being achieved, and we are continuing our dialogues with high-level state executives to see if, in fact, we can get something equivalent to a task force established by one of the cabinet secretaries of the administration. Next update is on our second legislative request, which is the provision for an adequate intercity passenger rail operating and capital fund. We've asked the General Assembly to enact legislation to secure the dedicated long-term fund so that we would be able to subscribe to it for future needs, capital, as well as operational. As of right now, there are three major bills dealing with IPROC working their way as we speak through the General Assembly. SB 717 raises and indexes the Virginia gasoline tax and dedicates 0.34% of the gas tax to IPROC. This equals approximately $48.9 million annually. The status is that it's been referred to Senate Finance, and we're waiting for it to be heard. There also is SB 1355 Newman, which is part of the governor's transportation package. It increases the vehicle registration fee on all vehicles in Virginia by $15 annually and dedicates half to the IPROC fund. This equals approximately $54.7 million annually for passenger rail. It also has been referred to Senate Finance Committee. We're waiting for action. On the House side, the governor's transportation package is being carried by the House Speaker, HB 2313, Speaker Howe. This increases also the vehicle registration fee and essentially creates $54.7 million annually for passenger rail. So far, we are working in close partnership with the Virginians for High-Speed Rail, as well as the Hampton Roads for Rail Coalition, and a few other of the rail advocacy coalitions up here to do our best to essentially inoculate the IPROC funding away from the larger transportation discussion, because for various stated reasons, we really do feel it's time and necessary to get this IPROC funding established. Moving on to the next bill, HB 1706. This is Council's request to change the mayor's election cycle. HB 1706 passed the House unanimously on January 23rd. It's now been referred to the Senate Local Government Committee. Our bill's in good shape, and staff does not have any concerns at this time, so we're cautiously optimistic on this bill as it works its way through the Senate. Our next legislative request is HB 1960. This is being patroned by Delegate James. It has to do with public art installation. As Council will recall, we found out through the state that some of our public art projects, that because of a nuance of contracting law, that actually the city was not in a position to be able to contract directly with public artists who are not licensed general contractors. We have advanced a legislative request to remedy this situation such that public artists could be contracted and could be procured and respond to RFPs if in fact they were contractually bound to provide a licensed general contractor if the $1,000 value threshold and the fixed foundation standard are in fact established. We feel pretty good about this bill and have no concerns at this time. Moving on to Norfolk's legislative priorities, our number one, uranium mining moratorium. We continue to work in a broad coalition of organizations, associations, and jurisdictions opposed to the mining and milling of uranium mining in Virginia. The list of the coalitions could be found at commonhealthvirginia.org. We've been busy working in a large partnership to understand what the probable vote for or against for each member of the relevant committees that are reviewing uranium mining legislation. Quickly, there are 4 remaining relevant bills on uranium mining. HB 2330 Miller and SB 1353 establishes the process for the Virginia Department of Mines and Minerals and Energy to issue permits for mining uranium ore. HB 1804 and SB 1919, SB 919 establishes a 3% state severance tax on gross receipts of any uranium served from the earth of the Commonwealth. The proceeds of this tax shall be deposited in the general fund of the Commonwealth. The other half of the proceeds shall be distributed to the localities from which the uranium was extracted. SB 1353 is scheduled to be heard on Thursday in Senate Agricultural, Conservation, and Natural Resources Committee. The Farm Bureau is a member of our opposition coalition, and our coalition collectively feels that we have the votes to kill SB 1353 outright in committee by a 2-to-1 margin on Thursday. This has been possible thanks to a large coalition's combined effort, the media's in-depth coverage of the topic, and our stated concerns publicly. And I'd like to say, Council, that our neighbors in Virginia Beach have been an outstanding ally in our efforts to reverse what we felt was the likely course of this legislation moving forward. With a strong defeat in either the Senate committee or if it goes to the Senate floor, the governor's public statement also being considered, our coalition collectively feels that the House may not act on HB 2330 and its companion bill, but Council, if it were to occur this session and if we were actually able to defeat these measures, the fact of the matter is the uranium mining proponents are fighting for a $7 billion uranium ore deposit, and they have spent a significant amount of money for lobbying, travel expenses for legislators, etc. And we expect that even with the defeat in uranium mining, they will more than likely come back next session with similar legislation. But we are feeling cautiously optimistic on our chances heading into the most important hearing coming up this Thursday, and we will continue to track efforts and work in partnership to defeat legislative efforts to lift the uranium mining moratorium. Moving on to our second legislative priority that has to do with the city's support of legislative efforts to meaningfully address deficiencies in the current 1995 Public-Private Transportation Act, the specific parts that govern affected local governments. It appears that the battle over the Port of Virginia has actually begun in earnest in the Senate as recent as today, where a subcommittee has taken the first step toward preventing the state from considering unsolicited proposals to privatize port operations. And I say, I'm sorry, today, I actually meant yesterday. Sometimes these days are blurring, but essentially the Senate Transportation Subcommittee on Monday voted to approve the legislation that would prevent these unsolicited proposals from moving forward. And Senator Frank Wagner said that the Public-Private Transportation Act adopted in '95 was never intended for the port, a $41 billion industry centered in Hampton Roads, to be contemplated in governing whether or not we should be, in fact, seeking privatization of port-related activities. This action was a setback for Governor Bob McDonnell, whose administration has been working to advance reform legislation for port operations and to limit or to prevent efforts to limit the use of PPTAs. The subcommittees declined to endorse the governor's request, and the same subcommittee also did not endorse a series of proposals aimed at excluding port facilities entirely from the PPTA. They're requiring General Assembly approval to the state could sell reports, and these measures also required local approval before allowing agreements with private companies to move forward. Senator Wagner's bill would not prevent the Virginia Port Authority from acting on either the unsolicited proposal by the APM terminals or 2 others made in response to the offer, including the current Virginia International terminals. But the administration officials warned during the subcommittee of the chilling effect on public-private partnerships to undertake expensive transportation improvements and other major state projects. Senator Wagner's bill and the governor's proposal introduced by Senator Jeff McWaters would direct the Port Authority to undertake reforms in its relationships with VIT, the port's operator, to eliminate the duplicative and expensive and excessive compensation identified by the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Committee in an earlier report this month. But recently, the JLARC submitted a study that rebutted the claims that the port's current operations is actually financially unstable and lagging behind competitors. In addition to expanding the Port Authority board, both proposals in the bills discussed would prevent the governor from removing members from the board except for malfeasance, incompetence, or gross neglect of duty. As you will recall, Council, Governor McDonnell replaced 10 of the 11 board members last year. There's been so much rolling and striking of PPTA bills up here. I won't go into it now, Council, but it clearly appears that Delegate Chris Jones's bills will be the House vehicle for PPTA reform. Covering very quickly these 4 bills, HB 1691 prevents the Commonwealth of Virginia from yes.
We're going to run out of time. I mean, clearly.
Cut to the chase.
Yeah, I mean, we have to. We've got some things we need to talk about here. So, by the way, I was with Brian last night for a little while, and this morning in Richmond. He's doing a great job. And everybody I talk to says he's doing a great job. And I believe that could. But you can't talk this much. You have to. I mean, it's fair to say uranium mining is still got some life in it. They are still trying to drive. Most people think it's dead. They're trying to drive the stake, at least for this year, in it, and they're not quite there yet. No one knows exactly what's going to happen with the port. The governor could veto some of this legislative action, and they could move ahead with the port. But I think the feeling is that they'll reform VIT in some fashion, and maybe at least that's what the maritime guys want. That's what most of the legislators want, and maybe that'll be the final outcome. And then as far as transportation, there's a whole series of bills up there about raising revenue. None of them seem to raise enough revenue, but they're starting to get enough sort of courage. It sounds like it in certain places, but they might actually, before we're finished, come out with a bill that means some money. So, go ahead, Brian.
I think the fundamental policy question on transportation, Mayor, as you know, has to do with a movement to actually take general fund monies to supplant transportation dollars, and that very much is on the minds of most members up here, and most Democrat members are concerned about the precedent established if we were to go in this direction.
Yeah, that's one of the big issues for us.
I'll wrap up for now and include the rest of the briefing and the weekly report to council that'll be in your Friday packet. And we will continue our efforts as an administration to advance council's package in this 2013 General Assembly session.
Brian, we got a question.
Brian, there's one piece of legislation that's critical to Norfolk as well as other municipalities as it relates to if a person, I don't know if it's germane to just having a piece of real estate in Norfolk or in other municipalities, but I know there's a bill up there that could hurt us significantly if it passes in terms of prohibiting us from going through the judicial sale process on properties if it's the person's sole residence. Have you seen that bill?
I've heard a little bit about it, and Vice Mayor, I'll check with the Treasurers Association lobbyist up here that I'm going to see tomorrow morning first thing, and I'll send you all the details on it specifically.
You got that?
Before we close, I'm sorry?
I was talking, okay.
Last thing to discuss, I did want to tell council that Councilman Riddick did make an effort to come up and testify for Senator Lucas on the toll mitigation bill. As you saw in the paper discussed today, we actually were able to work to have that specific study referred to the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization for further consideration. Of course, the HRTPO board would have to decide whether or not to accept it, but we really see this as a way to at least continue the dialogue on this question over revenue potential as it relates to casino gaming. That's all for now then.
Any questions for Brian? One thing about the governor's bill that we should pay attention to, transportation bill, is it, within a 5-year period of time, it moves about $800 million out of the general fund to transportation, away from other things that we could be spent on, for instance, education. In the past, I think 5 years, the General Assembly has sent $20 million. What's the number, Marcus? It's like,
For schools?
yeah, for schools.
Yeah, since 2007, the mayor, the General Assembly has provided $20 million less for Norfolk Public Schools.
Right, and we backfill with 10 of it, but
Yes.
every dollar they take from someplace in the general fund to spend on transportation comes out of our hide in some degree. You know, we shouldn't be put in the position of picking between a 21st century transportation system or a 21st century education system. I mean, we shouldn't, you know, that's a Sophie's choice, and, you know, the transportation needs its own dedicated source of revenue. So there are a lot of ways to do that. I don't know what's magical about it, but they ought to stay out of the general fund. That's been our position forever. It's nothing new.
Just regarding the flooding very quickly, I heard a report last week on NPR regarding federal funding that's coming down to the seaboard communities in the billions of dollars. And they were actually talking about that the Northeast Corridor wouldn't be able to use all that money. So I certainly hope we're poised to be in that discussion. This really is an opportunity for us.
We cannot prepare.
I can assure you, yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. Signing off.
Okay, Frank, do you want to go into closed session, or what do you want to do, Marcus?
We can go to close now.
And don't you think we're
Sure,
better off?
that's fine.
By the way, is the Dollar Tree store, anybody got questions about that? Do we need to have a presentation on Tidewater Drive?
The only thing I need to make sure you're aware of is that the Fairmont Park Neighborhood Association did ask me to ensure you knew they are opposed to granting the waivers.
Okay,
Yeah, we're not granting it.
okay, all right, thanks.
Said they were gonna do it, they need to do it.
What kind of waivers is
They made, the glass windows, they wanted to keep them covered, they said they wouldn't, they weren't gonna cover them.
I'm with you.
Landscaping, they said they were gonna do that, they didn't do it.
Okay,
I move the members of the council assemble a closed meeting on January 29, 2013 at 5:52 p.m. for the purpose set out in Clause 3 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, that is discussion of the disposition of 2 publicly held properties in the downtown area. Mr. Burford?
Aye.